UN Secretary General has said he has given clear message to the world leaders, noting that while the economic picture is uncertain everywhere, rich countries cannot ignore the fact that more than half the world, the vast majority of countries are suffering through a deep financial crisis. He made the remark at the end of the G7 summit in Hiroshima, Japan. The Fatu Bangura has more details of that in this report.
The G7, which consists of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom and the United States, together with the European Union, is meeting in the city where the first atomic bomb was dropped in 1945, a place which Secretary General Antonio Guterres described as a testament to the human spirit. Speaking to journalists on Sunday, Guterres indicates that there is a systemic and unjust bias in global economic and financial frameworks in favor of rich countries, which, according to him, is naturally generating great frustration in the developing world. The UN chief also argued that access to COVID-19 vaccines was deeply unfair and the recovery has been extremely unbalanced.
There is a systematic unjust bias in global economic and financial frameworks in favor of rich countries, which is naturally generating great frustration in the developing world. Access to COVID-19 vaccines was deeply unfair. The recovery has been extremely unbalanced.
Guterres also said it's time to reform both the Security Council and the Bretton Woods institutions. This is essentially a question of redistributing power in line with the realities of today's world. The Secretary General also spoke about climate change-related issues.
Climate action is working, but not enough, and we are clearly off track to limit temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. The acceleration agenda I proposed aimed to make up for lost time, and it calls for all G7 countries to reach net zero as close as possible to 2040, and for emerging economies to do so as close as possible to 2050.
Addressing the history of the city that hosted the meeting, the UN chief called Hiroshima a global symbol of the tragic consequences when nations fail to work together and settle their differences peacefully. The Secretary General further highlighted that as geopolitical divisions grow, no country or group of countries can stand by as billions of people struggle with the basics of food, water, education, healthcare, and jobs. According to him, it's time to demonstrate global leadership and global solidarity.